upcoming days. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
Indy. We'll do some more today, I think, depending on our time and focus.
Okay. Thank you.
Since I know a lot of people would like to probably, because yesterday, right? Because we are reviewing for the final exam, and so let me just go ahead and find the appropriate folder here. So let me share my screen. I haven't uploaded the recording for it. Sorry. I will upload it. I'll upload it today. I've just been trying to. I've been dealing with audio stuff and debugging in general. Let me see. I've been dealing with just having to debug stuff at home. You know, you'd think electronic wind instruments would be simple, but they cause all sorts of issues. So, um, all right. So, no worries that you weren't able to attend. Okay. I also want to address something about the question that got asked last night by a student, um, and that question was with regarding to I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. I feel like we were doing reasonable stuff in the beginning of the semester, and then when we came to the final project, we kind of all just jumped into the deep end. And I replied, this is a very accurate assessment. That is actually the intention of the final project, which is we have been waiting in the shallow end of the pool for a while, and now I want you to jump off that high-rise diving board and see how well you can do. That's okay. It's okay if it turns out to be a mess. You don't grow without pressure being applied. Now part of this is that, so that's a long way of saying if what you turn in for your final project is as follows, like, oh gosh, we said we were going to do this, but we only did this. We could only do this. But because it turns out that X, Y, and Z were way more complicated than we intended. And but we learned ABC. We worked really hard, and we did learn ABC, and we hadn't even considered those ABC existed beforehand. And in order to do the project, we now know we need to learn alpha, beta, and gamma. I'd consider that a success, in the short amount of time that you've done it. It's okay that like your original vision what you work on may not work. Understanding why and understanding and so this goes into the whole, we are interested in the journey, is not necessarily the destination where to get there, because a lot of your things were self-imposed and a lot of it was ambitious. And as we all forget, time flies. It has a tendency to do that. Yes, because I'm in the wrong folder. That is why I'm having trouble finding the document that I've been trying to find. Laser, Mama's not here. She went out to get her vaccination. She is getting her booster shot today, hence why I'm teaching from home. Let's see. ITV final, practice exam, and practice final. You're still hungry? Oof, this sounds like a growth spurt. He's had one of those Red Baron pizzas, and he's had some chocolate.
Set up a trough, I'm telling you now.
So let's see. Yeah. So what we're gonna do today is that we are gonna work on some of these files over here, or some of these file reading and other problems over here, as well as FizzBuzz. Okay. But basically we're going to tackle part 1 of the problem 1 in the exam. All right. So with that though, I figure let's start out with FizzBuzz. Okay. This is a program that hopefully you should be able to solve, but it's got an interesting trick to it. So take a few minutes to consider it and try to come up with your own solution to it. And then otherwise, I will return because my child is apparently hungry. Oh, come on. There we go. So there you go. I'll be right back. That is a problem that I definitely want you to consider for yourself. And as you can see, it's been on my final exam for a number of years when everything was closed book and closed notes and closed internet. It doesn't really work because this is one of the most Googleable problems out there. But challenge yourself and take a couple minutes to try to solve it on your own. Yes, Laser. Is your water upstairs, or do you need new water? Good. I'm going back upstairs. All right. So yeah, this is a very interesting program. Now, this is actually a bit of a notorious program because what it's done. The purpose of this program is that it's used as a basic filter. Specifically, it's to filter out like that first pass of coding interviews to make sure somebody can actually code. You can come upstairs and play a game on the computer. Okay, so let's go ahead and save. Okay. Okay. So we're going to be starting from N. Yes. Just click laser. There. So def FizzBuzz. So now it doesn't necessarily sound too difficult, this problem, until you realize that every 15th value has to be fizz and buzz together on the same row. Because if it wasn't for that, then what we could do is fairly simple. We could just simply say if, for I in range, I'll be there in a sec, laser, for I in range n. So if we want to go up to n, up through n, we'll have to do n plus 1. but that's just a minor portion of it that doesn't really matter. So I'm going to start at 1. If n equals 3, or if n, it sounds like he's dying because he's not getting electronic entertainment here. Right? And it's like, if it wasn't for that, it was simple enough to do that. Laser. It is very interesting that it's not producing sound. There. I should mention it is very difficult to use a computer if you can't read.
Choose an item from the menu bar and place it in the train car. Did you know that some dinosaurs are gargantuan?
Otherwise, else, print the default value.
Do you want to decorate another train car?
Laser, I do need to lower that. It is a bit loud for my class. There we go. Sorry. All right, so print that. And now if we run this for FizzBuzz25, you'll see that this doesn't work. But it's close, right? Oh, of course, I have to actually give it a value. So let's give it 23 as the value, because why not? Oh, no. If n mod... Oh, right, if n... Silly me. I. This is what happens when I try to parent and teach at the same time. Okay, so we got fizz, buzz, fizz, right? All things that are divisible by 5 have been replaced by buzz. All things divisible by 3 have been replaced by fizz, and all things that are both are still fizz. Okay. So the easy solution to the understanding here is to recognize, and what makes it a challenge on a paper exam is that you can't run this and find out. You have to be able to look at this and recognize, wait a second, if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, it's going to be divisible by, we're just going to print out buzz. So the most direct way to solve this problem is to have the condition, is to realize there's 4 possibilities. It's divisible by 3, it's divisible by 3 but not 5, divisible by 5 but not 3, divisible by both 3 and 5, or it's not divisible by any of those any of this nonsense. So the easiest way to handle that is to just set them up as exclusive cases. You can be verbose if you need to, but there's no need to over here. I can just simply say, if I mod 3 equals 0 and I mod 5 equals 0. Print FizzBuzz. All right. And now we can run it and we can see that it works properly. So let's work on a question that will be very similar to what would be on the exam. Okay. I see, Laser, but I am teaching right now. See, practice final over here, because I want something that we haven't done yet. Write a script that, given a text file, finds and returns all the superhero words in it, which are words with man, woman, boy, girl, such as Superman or Batboy, right? Because all good, proper superheroes. Could we? Lynn asks, can we do if I mod 15 equals 0? Yes, but that required math, and I didn't want to assume that anybody wanted to do much math today. So, you know, those are equivalent answers. There are about 1.5 million way to solve FizzBuzz, and I was just simply doing the most direct way that built up from naive solution, recognizing there's an issue and fixing that issue. So all good superhero names have that. So let's go ahead and write a script that will return all of those. So for this one, I'm going to make this easy for myself, and I'm going to import RE. Now remember, if it's built into Python and I can just import it without installing pip, it's fair game. You can use it. It's when it's not, if you have to install pip, ask me. And I'll probably say yes, but It just really depends on the problem. And I don't think you'll, and I think pretty much random and RE are pretty much the only ones we'll need. So def find all supers, right? And so we're going to give it a file name. We want to do that. So I'm going to do it as a function so I can write it first, and then we'll go ahead and make a fake file and we'll test it. Sound good? So what we want to do is write a script that, given a text file, finds and returns all the superhero words in it, which are words that, and okay. So we need to open up this file and we need to search. We need to open up this file first so we can read it. So how do we read a file? We do it with the open command, and we do data, and just do, and I'll have a rubric listed and saying, were you able to read through the file? If so, that was 5 points. You know, so doing something as simple as this, open, and then file name, let that be this, let the actual path and file name be the problem of the grader. I will provide a sample input and output file, by the way, for your exam. Okay? I will provide sample input and output file for your exam. So source file name R. So now data open. So now all we have to do is I'll do for line in data, and then we want super names is equal to a list. We'll grab a list of them. Okay, so for every line in there, I'm gonna find that name, and then I'm gonna move on, and then at the end I'm gonna return super names after, because in this for loop that's where I'll do the adding. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to make use of, there's basically two super useful. I'm using super a lot in this lecture. There's two super useful things to do. We can use so RE Python. We're going to be using so there's a couple things that are super useful here. There are there's sub, which given a regular expression in a string, we can replace stuff in it, which we'll be doing as our next exercise. And that's almost certainly what you're going to be doing on the exam, because I've mentioned on the exam, it's going to be something like finding all the social security numbers and replacing those. Okay. The other one for something like this, if you don't want to replace them, it's find all, which finds all non-overlapping matches. Oh yeah. So so I have very clear. Let me go ahead and pull up Firefox and go to Canvas, so I don't have to do two-factor authentication there. Let me go and yes, you are able to do that. There are 3 questions in the exam, just 3. 3 large, medium-sized questions, but just 3. Let me mute my screen share for just a second. Let me stop that so that I can just accurately get you a snapshot of what the rules from the exam, so you can see it. Okay. But there we go. Yep, that would have been bad. It's going to be on Canvas because I've already made it on Canvas. All right, so share screen. So there we go. Okay, there is, so as you can see, this is actually the final exam that's open. You notice that there are 5 questions, and I said there was 3. I'm not lying to you. There are 3 actual questions. Question 4 is free points. I think it's give me your best meme. And so come prepared to give me your best meme, you know. And question 5 is the yeah, I did. Question 5 is a chance to upload any side work. Take pictures of anything you want, upload it there. Upload your code from online in case you don't trust the text boxes. You know, upload your actual Python files. So that's what question 5 is. Okay. You do not have to make your own memes. You can find what you find best on the internet. Okay, but I want quality memes. If you want to make one about this class, all the better. Okay. So here are the rules for the exam. So first off, for the exam, you will be, and I will send this out in a separate announcement to remind you. For the exam, you will log in onto our class Zoom session just like you do for any class. You don't have to do Proctorio, no sharing your screens. It's unnecessary for me to detect cheating. Okay? Or at least it's unnecessary for me to detect cheating that I would be able to detect with Proctorio. So feel free to use any programming environment. So it's open note, open book, internet, computer with the following caveats. You can use any programming environment such as idle or PyCharm to use your code. Do not communicate with anyone during their exam. Your work should be your own. If I find our questions posted on the internet and the answers are sourced from there, you'll receive a 0. So basically, the what is the line you cannot cross when using the internet to solve the questions? You can look at stuff. Don't try to Google the actual answer to questions, especially since they'll be unique questions. Yes, you can use regexer. You can use anything you want. It's open internet. So so what is the line you cannot cross? The line you cannot cross is like soliciting solutions. So go, and somebody did this last semester where they took an image, a screen grab of the exam, posted it on Chegg, and tried to get an answer from there. And they did, and they turned it in. And all I did was I waited a few days before I graded the exam so that the search results would populate, and got myself my. I checked for my. Then I checked for my question, found it on Chegg, and then found the student who had submitted it. It was that simple. And at no point did I ever actually have to go to Chegg to figure that out, or like to ask Chegg itself. So similarly, do not solicit for advice on Stack Overflow or similar. That is asking for a solution. Does that make sense? Right? You're communicate. If you're using the internet as a tool to communicate with people rather than as an extension of books, a big book, that's where the line is. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Was I clear there? No communication, no posting on forums of any type, no instant messaging with people about this. All right, somebody sends you an instant message during the exam. So what? Doesn't matter. We're all getting bombarded with notifications. But I'm saying no trying to go and communicate with anyone else. Hopefully I've cleared that up. Okay. So let's go back to our regular expressions. Yes, Amul.
Did you upload the video?
No, I did not.
Yesterday's like,
Okay. I will upload both videos today after class. I've been pretty intensely busy with meeting with a lot of students. So, all right. So I'm going to use the find all expression, re.find all, and I need the correct regular expression for this. So let's go ahead and create a regular expression to do that. So, superhero regex is equal to, and I'm going to use a raw string. Remember that R for regular expressions, meaning I don't have to escape it like here. And what is the regular expression I'm trying to write? Okay, I want words that end with man, boy, girl, woman, or girl. Right, and so I got an instant message doing pretty much what I thought of. So first off, let's do this part with man or woman or boy or girl. So, right, it's got to be a word ending with man or woman or boy or girl. So man or woman or boy or girl. But we're using parentheses here, and we might find that that is actually a bit tricky, as we'll see. Okay. But that will just simply capture man or woman or boy or girl. we need also, what do we need? We need, well, this could have any number of characters before it, right? So any number of letters beforehand plus man, woman, boy, or girl. Although this would capture bat boys or bat girls or something like that. So we could do, so there's actually a lot of interesting things we could do here. We could do a /B for word boundary. Or we could do, what would, we don't want to go up to an, yeah, actually this should be sufficient, I think. No need to overcomplicate this. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll say super names dot find the super names is equal to re.findAll. Actually, I'm going to do something a bit cheeky here. Love Python that I can do that. Super hero regex, and then the string is the line, and that's it. So let's go ahead and try that by hello, my name is Bruce Wayne, but you may better know me as Batman. My super best friend is Superman, but he is an alien and has superpowers and therefore is a cheater. Okay. The $sign would imply that that the line that is the end of the line. Test.txt. So we're gonna do this as a text file. And now let's go ahead and test this on find all supers, and it would be text.txt. Actually, what did I call it? Called it test.txt. No, test, not text. Okay. Of course, when we run something and you don't get an output, don't panic. We just probably did the mistake that Professor Rosen always makes, which is he forgot to print out his output. Uh-oh. It got man. What in the world is happening here? So the result depends on the number of capturing groups, in other words, parentheses. If there's no groups, it returns a string matching the whole pattern. If there's exactly one group, it returns a list of strings matching that group. If multiple strings. So in order to get a good result, we're probably going to have to do something annoying like this. Parenthesis, it assumes that when you return parentheses, all you actually want are the things in the parentheses. So what we're going to do is we are going to I'm going to surround it with parentheses and see how that works. That changes my response. Batman man, Superman man. Not great, but we can work with it. Literally, I'm just trying. I'm hacking my way through this as quickly as possible. So again, what it does is that the parentheses, if there's parentheses, it assumes you only want the things in the parentheses, not the whole thing. So I'm not sure if the flag if the flag it allows us to do that. But yeah. So yeah, if there's no groups, yeah, non-capturing groups do not. If multiple groups are present, so there we go. Actually, although I think with the way that it's been written, now this is probably the easiest way for result in superhero in super names. For I result in super names enumerate, because I'm going to do something very stupid but very quick and efficient. And enumerate, remember, gives me the index. Super names I is equal to result, and I only want the first field in there, 0. Let's see if that works. Boom, did it. Okay. Right, because we had an output here that had each of these items in the list had a tuple in it, and I wanted the first item in a tuple. A tuple is like a list, except you can't change it, but you can get things out of it. Now, I try to avoid cases where you'd have to use parentheses. So, now let's go on to another problem that is similar to let me try to, I'm just trying to look to make sure that I've got a regular expression question that is similar, because I'm pretty sure I do. Final exam. So yeah, the social security numbers. Exam 3 practice. Here we go. Write a function that, given a file, this is a lot like what I'd give on the exam. Now, I mean, you can if you want to use ignore case, but it's fine. Write a function that, given a file name, creates a new file with the exact same contents as the original file, but replaces all the phone numbers, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, replaces the string. What's wrong, Laser? I know. I'm sorry. Maybe you'll need to ask for a hint, but I, again, am teaching, so I can't really help you with your game right now. Okay. All sorts of games on PBS Kids he's playing, and they may be above his age range, but that's okay. He doesn't really mind. He just wants to try to play games. All right. So now phone numbers in the US, right? These are US phone numbers, ignoring the whole one thing, right? The US, the country code. So we're just assuming you're calling from a US number to a US number. And again, those are the kind of assumptions you can write down that you're making. Also, it says such as. Is this the only possible format I have to worry about? It does say all phone numbers. How do US people write their phone numbers anyway? There's a couple ways, right? There's da-da-da, right? You can see it like that. You can also see it like this, with a space like this. And some people are weird, I guess. I mean, but that's pretty much it, right? Is there any other way that people commonly write their numbers down? Right? I mean, heck.
I think there's a +1.
I mean, yeah, that's if you need a country code. And like I said, that's an assumption you can make. Here, I'm just confirming my own logic here. Yeah, when I plug it into a phone, right, it comes out with in this format. But if I check how it's stored, it can be stored also as a series of, sometimes the numbers are stored like this in my cell phone. I'll do differentiation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Sometimes they're stored like that, right? As well as just a 10-digit string of numbers. So again, regular expressions is going to make this a lot easier for us. So def find and remove phone nums. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an input file, and we're going to need to provide an input file name, output file name. Right? Again, we'll leave the whole where do we put these files as arguments, kind of, that we can provide. They can be provided to the function. Doesn't need to return anything now, okay? Because again, what we're doing is reading and writing files. So first things first, let's go ahead. We can either open up this file. So data is equal to open input file name, and we're going to open it in R mode to read it. Okay. Next, we'll need to go through it and replace stuff using the inappropriate regular expression. That's another key. We either have to search for these strings, and not using strings, it would be annoying because we'd have to go through every single letter, and then we'd have to look ahead a bunch of letters to see if it matched. Look ahead a bunch of characters to see if it matched that format. Lots of nested if statements. Using regular expressions makes this a lot easier. It turns it in from a problem that will eat up all your time to a problem that's going to be fairly short. So how do we do a phone regex? I don't know, Laser. Sometimes you have to start, or maybe restart from the beginning, or maybe it might be better to play a different game. I think there's just so many pieces on there. I must not get distracted. You do not need to make a separate regex. We can actually merge them together, I think, fairly well. But you could. Phone regex is equal to /d/d/d. So let's start out with this one. Okay, we're going to start out with this one, and then we're going to add onto it. Okay, and then we had a dash, and then 3 more digits, and then we had 4 dashes, right? So to note, no matter what, we're going to have 10 digits in here, right? It's just simply, how's it going to be split up? Right? How is this going to be split up? Okay. And the answer is we need to do, let's see. So how could I get the other one? So notice over here that basically that there is either a dash or a space or nothing after this. So I could do a dash, a space, and that dash or a space is completely optional. Similarly, for this dash, it either exists or it doesn't. So I can simply put a question mark, meaning that there's 0 or 1 dashes there. And yes, technically there are different combinations where that would only be valid, but I'm going to move on from that. Not worry about that too much. Okay? Because it is possible that somebody does something silly like that. However, unlikely. So the question mark means 0 or 1 of the preceding characters, meaning there's either going to be 0 dashes or 1 dash. There's going to be 0 dashes or spaces or 1 dash or space. That's what the question mark means. It means 0 or 1 of the preceding. It is equivalent to saying this. It basically is saying it's optional. The thingy right before me is optional. And then there is one more optional thing, which is these parentheses, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be. So this is to open a so these are for opening a parentheses. This is for closing parentheses, but it might not have it. And it'd be weird for somebody to have an open without a close, but again, I will just simply ignore that. So we could do it like this. Another way to do it is to use the ors without any parentheses. We could just do it a lot more brutishly, so to speak. DDD dash. Okay. Or and actually let's go ahead and shorten this up so that's easier to deal with. Question mark represented optional. It meant 0 or 1 of the preceding. So this, and now I'm showing a different way to do this. And a space and D3 and a dash and slash D4, or some computer program decided that 10 digits in a row was a perfectly valid way to represent this. So this covers, this is the first, anything matching the first case I wrote down, or anything matching the second case, or anything matching the third case. Make sense? Depending on the way you think, it may be easier to do that. There's generally way more than one way to do a regular expression. And, you know, the trick is basically being able to include all the cases while exclude everything that's not a case that you want to exclude. So, which is a tricky balancing thing, which is why it's so hard to make an email regular expression. Here's one email regex that 99% works, and it is, as you can see, complete and utter gibberish. Although it does have a diagram showing how it works. But this is because it matches all the things that are needed that are put down in the email specifications. You'd be surprised what are valid inside for email addresses, but just don't get used. Also worthwhile to note, did you know that for Gmail accounts, okay, this is gonna blow your mind if you don't know it already. So here's my Gmail account. Mind you, with Gmail, capitalization doesn't matter. Oh, and not only that, but the number of dots I put anywhere doesn't matter. This is still the same email address. It will get to me. Oh, and not only that, But when I sign up for music software, yep. When I sign up for music software, I like to make sure that I like to make sure that it's going specifically just to music stuff, so that if I get non-music related stuff, I know something's coming from me. Or if I want to, basically, if I want to specify that's, I can do this. Still goes to the same address. So that should give you an idea about, should kind of break a lot of your notions or assumptions you may have had about ways that email addresses can be formatted. Okay, so again, would the thingy you had thought about for writing an email address included that or not? Okay. No, that's those. If you're changing, I mean, you possibly could. I don't know. That seems mildly unethical, and I'm not going to encourage that practice. Because I'm supposed to say things like that. Anyway, continuing on, input file, output file. So we've got this file. So now, what we're going to do is do for line in phone regex. I mean, websites have their terms of services. So, you want to abide by those terms of services because you don't know what consequences they have for not abiding for the term of services. Or, you can just pay. So let's see. For line in, not foam regex, in the for line in data. What you have to do is now we need to replace everything that matches that regex. Okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to say to write is equal to re.sub, and aha. So we want to give it the pattern, what we want to replace it with, and the string, and what we're targeting with this. So we want to use the phone regex. That we're looking for anything that matches the phone regex. We want to replace it with, according to this document next to me, private, and we want to target the line. And that gives us that line to write. And so now what we can do also is say output is equal to open output file name write. Okay, and then all we have to do is say output dot write to write. Don't even have to remember about doing slash new lines in there because that would have been part of the line we just read. That's it. We should probably do output dot close to be polite about it. Let's go ahead and make a new file to test this. My phone num is but not I'll put it on for you in a bit. I do like the house that you made. Just to kind of show that certain things will get deleted and certain things won't. We're going to save this as a text file. phoneexam.txt. And now what I'll do on the exam, what you're going to want to do is grab the file save the file from the internet that I sent that you get linked to. Okay. And then what we're going to want to do is call this method, find or remove phone numbers. There's no need to print anything because we are going to use phone exam .txt as our output, as our input, and we'll use phone out.txt as our output. Run it, and we just got a new file to pull up. And we see that replaced all the things that met that string. And so typically and again, for this kind of question on the exam, I'm going to give you an input file, and then for the question on your exam, I've already written the question and the regex for it, and I've kind of like wrote the question and the answer for it. And what I've done is I have both a expected input, I give you an input, and then the output I got when I ran mine, and the output that you should expect to see if it works 100%. If your input matches if your output matches my output, it would be 100%. Why didn't line 7 not change? Because I didn't catch it. It wasn't one of the things I wrote my program to catch. Which is that I didn't write to catch anything that had spaces in there. Right? If I do this instead, which is saying dash or space. Oh, and not optional there. Dash or space, dash or space. If I write that, let's see. It should now caught it. But again, I'll tell you what you need to catch and what you don't need to catch. And in the 3 things that I put up there, you didn't need to catch it. So that wasn't a necessary change that we had to make. Okay. Don't know what those 3 things that I linked were there in that part. Okay. So let's see. What's another good one for... Let's see. All right. Let's go ahead and tackle something that won't be necessarily on the exam, but making sure that you understand stuff. XOR. Return true if only A is true or only B is true, but false if both are true or both are false. He'd like to watch Ready, Jet, Go. So I will be right back while you think about this question over here. This exclusive OR, which is typically a logic function we learn, but in Python, well, Python's different like that. I'll be right back. Okay. So there's a number of easy solutions and a number of more complicated solutions for this. And a number it really just depends on how verbose or obnoxiously short you want to be. So for this one, I'll just go ahead and copy this. Right. So again, it's an exclusive or, which is kind of the situations of, do you want to go to the movies or do you want to go to the park? These two things are exclusive. We can't be in two places at once until we invent time travel. Okay? So if only one is true, return true. But if both are true or both are false, return false. So there's actually a couple ways we can do this. We can pretty much iterate through all those cases. So if A equals true, actually we can do, so yeah, if A equals true and B equals false, return true. We can also do something like this. If not A and B, and I'll put a parenthesis around it just to be safe. Comes down to the same thing, right? Where, so if not A, so if A is not true, in other words, if A is false, and B, well, if it's true, this evaluates the true. If it's false, it evaluates the false. Would it be possible to see if two Booleans are equal to each other? Yeah, we can just simply say, yep, there are a lot of ways to do this. And then we can do, I'm just going with the most verbose way, which is the safest way, but also I'm trying to show some kind of way. Otherwise, if A is true and B is true, turn false. If A equals,
So, Professor, why did you use the parentheses around not A?
just to be sure, because I wasn't sure if not leaving them out would do this. I wasn't 100% sure, and
Gotcha.
I didn't want to look it up.
Yeah.
I suspect that's not the case, but I always like to be extra careful about it.
Thank you.
Order of operations gets complicated when you have to include the logical operators too. So, now, of course, so this is the most verbose way to do this. However, you might recognize that both of these options are return false. So if neither of these two things work, I can just say return false. And as somebody else pointed out in chat and direct message, they were asking if it's possible to check if two Booleans are equal to each other. That does bring up the point. You think, wait a second. We want to return true if they're different, but false if they're the same, right? So we could do that, right? We want to return true if they're different, false if they're the same. If A equals B, return false. Else, they're different, return true. Which we can simplify, by the way, into one annoyingly obnoxious line. Return A not equal to B. So if A and B are different, return true. If they're false, if they're the same, we're going to return false. Again, And what this goes to show you is that there are multiple correct ways to do the same problem. There are multiple correct ways to do the same exact problem. And none of them are any better than any other way of doing it. Okay, let's see. So we had a Monte Carlo thing. Let's go ahead and check. Is there an exam 2.pdf? Yeah, there is. Did that have anything in particular that was? Yes, the Monopoly, which we did yesterday. Okay. Practice final. Okay. So is there any kind of a... So would people prefer me to go over another Monte Carlo or another Regex as the final question?
Another Monte Carlo, please.
Oh, now you're going to make me think.
Same.
Great, now I have to think of one. Okay, give me a second. Give me 1 second. I've already thought of it. Now I just have to find the appropriate prop. Okay. Oh, found the prop. Great. Okay. Like, again, I play a lot. Let me go ahead and share my camera view so that you can pin me. Okay. I'll share this all on GitHub, don't worry. So, like, there's a lot of different dice. And if you want, this is like, here's my, whoops, numerical D6s, right, with actual numbers on them. This caltrop here is what we call a four-sided dice. They're annoying. You don't want to do that. I mean, maybe if there's time left, or I might do a second review video on one of Laser's game. But the games I've been playing recently is this game, the Dresden Files Accelerated, which is based off of Fate Accelerated, which I've got the core rulebook for that right here. As far as if you want to get into tabletop RPGs, it's hard to go wrong with this thin little book over here. It is about 50 pages long. It works for any kind of system. $5 or free if you just want to look at the open source version of it. And the only difficulty is that it relies off of these dice over here, which you can simulate using D6s. Okay? You can simulate these using D6s. Okay? Now, what are these? These are called fate die because the system is built on, or these are called fudge die. These are called fudge dice because they were built for a system called fudge. They're a bit different, as you can see. You've got two sides that are blank. Those indicate a 0, a plus meaning 1, and a minus on two sides meaning a -1. Okay, so two blanks, two zeros, 2 1s, 2 -1s. And the typical roll for a game is and the game relies off of the only roll you ever make are just 4 of these and then adding an appropriate number. So, and because of this, the game works off of basically a very bell curve shaped roll, right? That was a 1. Typically, so the value of a roll can range from -4 to +4, but it's almost on average going to be, but it's almost always going to be a 0, a 1, or a -1. Okay? So, we could do a Monte Carlo approximation for, to figure out the, so we could do a Monte Carlo approximation to find out what the best roll is. Sorry, how often these rolls come out. Except I think I'm in page 99. Yeah, here it is. The book has already worked out the percentages. It may be hard to see because it's all reversed on my end. Is it reversed on your end? Is it reversed on your end?
I couldn't see it.
To be honest, it's kind of blurry.
Okay, but is it are the letters in reverse?
No.
No? Okay. So it's worked out the odds for these rolls, which you may or may not be able to read, and that's okay. The point being, so that's not interesting to calculate. The interesting for us to calculate is that in the game of Fate, okay, one of the player resources is something called Fate points, which you are able to use on a roll to say, I'm really good at this thing, so I should get one of two things. Either a +2 to the roll, so add 2, or I get to re-roll my dice. And so how often, and so here's my question. Here's what I want to know. How often is it better to re-roll the dice versus just adding a +2 to your dice? Does that make sense? The player gets a certain number of points every game that they can use to say, I want to get a +2 to the roll, or I want to re-roll it. So how often is it better to get that +2 versus re-rolling? Make sense? Everybody understand the premise of the problem?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start by rolling. So let me go ahead, start, and by sharing my screen again, and we will re-roll that. Okay, so let's call this a def d-fate for a fate dice. First thing we want to do if we're doing a dice game of any sort is create something to represent a single die. And then maybe we make a method to correspond to rolling an entire set, but we want to simulate one dice. Now they have pluses, minuses, and blanks. So we're just going to represent those by their actual values, which are -1, +1, and zeros. So faces are equal to, and we're going to need to import random, of course, because now that we're dealing with random numbers, we need to import random. D-fate is equal to faces 1. So we have 1, 1, we have 0, 0, and we have -1 and -1. Those are the faces of the dice. Okay? So it's different than your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so now we just return random dot choice, which means choose one of the sequences, or choose one from the sequence. Random dot choice faces. Make sense? Okay. So now def roll. Okay. So now let's go ahead and figure out a roll. A roll is doing 4 of these fate dice together, which I could do as either as a for loop, but honestly, with only 4 of them, it's just easier for me to do. Okay? What I cannot do under any circumstances, even though you've learned in math class that's the same thing, is do this. No. That's just taking the result of one die roll and multiplying it by 4. We need 4 separate dice rolls here. So keep that in mind when you're doing dice rolls. Okay? You can't just multiply them. Each die is its own little life that you need to roll. Okay, so now we have a roll. So def better. So let's write a function that given a roll that rolls a die and then figures out do I get a better result if I add 2 or if I re-roll. Do I need to convert it to an int? No, I shouldn't need to convert it to an int because I just got 4 ints. This gives me an int, and then I added 4 ints together. So better to add or roll. And the way we decide that is by actually simulating this. We're going to roll the dice once. Okay. Initial roll. Butter fingers today. Initial roll is equal to roll. Rick? No, roll. It's I'm sorry. Fingers. Trying to go fast. Initial roll. Okay, and so now I want to ask myself, which is better? Add 2 is equal to initial roll plus 2, or is it better to re-roll the dice? So how often do I get a better result by re-rolling the dice? And yeah, this is going to include some really stupid situations where I'm deciding to re-roll when I came up with 4 pluses. But that's okay. I think this is fine for this kind of simulation because this will average out enough. Roll, add 2, or re-roll the dice. Oh, sorry. Re-roll. So we take our initial roll, and then we're going to compare these two values, re-rolling the dice or adding 2 to the initial roll. So if I'm going to call it actually plus 2. If plus 2 is greater than greater than our arithmetic error. If plus 2 is greater than re-roll, I'm going to give us actually some strings as a return this time. Return plus the plus 2 wins. If re-roll is greater than the plus 2, return was better to re-roll. And of course, what if they're the same? I'll actually go ahead and list that this time as a tie. Make sense? So again, we're not really doing a proper statistical analysis. We're just cheating and pretending we are by doing a bunch of cheating math. So let's go ahead and do trials is equal to, let's do 100,000 of these. That's a good number, I find. And then let's go ahead and pluses. Plus 2 is equal to 0. Tie is equal to 0. Reroll is equal to 0, and we'll increment each of those results for each time we get something. So 4 in range trials. Better to add or roll result. If result equals plus 2 plus 2 plus equal, this is funny to say, plus 2 plus equals 1. If result equal re-roll Reroll plus equals 1, else it's going to be a tie otherwise. Okay. And then print plus 2 divided by trials. Tie divided by trials. Reroll divided by trials. And yes, I see that error. I did another slash instead of a comma. So according to this, if we're just blindly re-rolling the dice versus adding 2, 74% of the time it's better to add plus 2. This is close enough to 75%, but whereas 10% of the time it's just going to be a top. They're going to be 12% of the time they're going to be no different, and about 14% of the time it's better to re-roll, which makes sense because most of the time you've got a good, because a lot of the time a bunch of the times you'll be getting a good number like a +1 or +2, and it makes sense to just add more to that good number rather than trying to beat that bell curve and getting something on the far end. It's much easier to just do it. Whereas if you're ending up with a negative number, again, it could be better to just add that +2 versus re-rolling. Again, I just rolled 4 pluses, so make of that what you will. Odds are silly like that. Or as Terry Pratchett says, million to that's pretty much it, Ben. The -3s and the -4s are pretty much what we want to see re-rolled. But as Terry Pratchett says, 1,000,000 to 1 odds happen 9 times out of 10. The trick, as he points out in his book Guards, is that it only works for 1,000,000 to 1 odds, and exactly only for 1,000,000 to 1 odds. I'll be trying to post everything today. Okay. All right, stop recording. I said stop.